welcome to another episode of Indeed, the independent podcast about independent wrestling. I'm Mike Hamley, and I forgot to put that up. Super professional.
That's our show.
Yeah, joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Righteous Reg. How you doing?
In the building, it's your boy, Media Man, your favorite writer, your favorite rapper, your favorite podcaster, beefing with your favorite wrestlers on Twitter. That's how I do. That's me. And I'm very excited to be here today because we have a very special guest, a very intense young man, one of the best young independent wrestlers going today. The reason that we created this podcast is for wrestlers like this. Shout out to the homie, Poisoned Youth Robert Martyr in the building. Rob, what is good today, my bro?
Good, man. I literally just got home and then straight here for the flight. I just came from New York. I wrestled at Invictus Wrestling in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey against Big Game Leroy. So that was a good match.
Oh, shout out to Big Game Leroy. You had fun out there with him?
Yeah, no, that was our story had built for like a year because the match was supposed to happen like 4 or 5 times. And whether politics, weather, whatever the case may be, we just couldn't get it done, and we just built it. We did our own story because we couldn't rely on anybody else to do it, so we just let's do this.
Wow, that's amazing, man. That's super awesome. So Robert Martyr, independent wrestling superstar. Let's talk a little bit about how you got here, because I talked to you before at West Coast Pro.
Yeah,
and you told me a story about how you were training and you got injured. Tell me a little bit about how you got from that to how pretty much that story and why that wasn't the end for you, because it could have been the end for a lot of people.
So it's probably, I want to say, April of 2017, and I was 16 years old, and I went to training one day, and our actual my original trainer, Ricardo Rodriguez, wasn't there today. And I was like, oh, that's weird, he's not here. So they had another guy who was like, I'd never seen this dude before, never heard of him in my life. Apparently he was like some type of legend, wrestling Mid-South Wrestling. I had no idea who he is at the time. And his training was very different because, at that time I was training Mexican lucha. That was all I was doing. So for, wrestlers that are watching this, like, when I say lucha, I mean lucha libre, which is like, there's American high flying and there's legitimate lucha libre. So lucha, they prioritize the right side. It's very, very different, right? So I was training that specifically, and he was American style, which is I was accustomed to. But I guess his training method, the way I describe it is, how do I say it? The training method, the way I describe it, was very head on. Like, he didn't really explain anything to you, so he decided to have one of the students try a Hurricane Run on me because he had never done it. So I was like, okay, have you done it before? He said yes. I thought he had done it. He'd never done it. So he does the Hurricane Rana, and he hooks his legs around my head and drives me down. And I land on my head, and there we go. C7's gone.
Crazy. Oh my God.
Yeah, I was in the middle of the ring and I couldn't move, and I was just like, I was genuinely freaking out. I thought it was it. I thought I was going to be paralyzed. Thought I would never move again. When your entire life just is like, it's over, it's done. Like, that's what I thought. And at first, like, the guy was laughing, he didn't think I was hurt. I thought I was working him or whatever. And no, I could not move. I could not feel any
shit.
And it got to the point where he was like, no, seriously, stop joking. I'm like, I can't move. Like, I started like yelling at him while my neck's broken. I'm like, I can't move. So they call the ambulance, and I get stretchered out from the ring because I couldn't move. So we get to the hospital, and they put me in the brace or whatever, and they're like, yeah, so it could have been a worse injury. Have you done, like, what did they say? I think the doctor was like, have you done anything specifically involving like exercise or working out or whatever? I'm like, yeah, I do amateur wrestling and I do pro wrestling. He's like, okay, do you do any workouts with your neck? I'm like, yeah, actually, like, I do neck bridges, the wrestler's bridge, for people watching at home. You use it for German suplexes, any type of throwing move. That's what you're supposed to use it for. And I was like, oh, he was like, okay. Walked back. Another 40 minutes goes by, and he's like, I think that saved your neck.
Shit.
Because if you didn't have done that, so basically my neck swelled up so much because of like, you know, my neck being wide and the strength of my neck swelled up and got in between the bone and stopped it from completely separating. So
wow.
It's like the same thing that happened to Big E, pretty much. Having that thick ass neck is what saved him. Yeah.
Yeah, and same thing with Angle. If you look at his interviews, like he hates the wrestler's bridge. He thinks it's terrible for your neck, but he does admit it did save him many times on, you know, how many times he broke his neck and he was still able to recover.
Right.
So it's a blessing and a curse. But literally in that moment, I realized that pro wrestling or wrestling in general saved my life, because I would have been paralyzed if it wasn't for that. And you know, I remember my dad being there, and my dad jokes. He's like, you would have been a martyr for wrestling. How funny is that?
Shit.
Oh my god.
Too close to home, huh, Rob?
Because my dad baseball. My dad does. You know, my dad. You know what's funny? This is a really quick sidetrack. My dad has a Goldberg, the same tattoo Goldberg has right here, and he hates wrestling. It's literally he saw Goldberg in the movie and he got the tattoo. I'm like, you hate wrestling, but you have a Goldberg tattoo on your arm.
That's amazing.
But I was like, wow. I don't know why when he joked around like that, he said like why that hit me. I was like, damn, I would have died for wrestling. I would have literally died. I would have literally died.
That's a Hall of Fame dad joke.
Yeah,
seriously.
Like I'm taking notes on that one.
I was like, bro, my dad's quick with it, bro. My dad's military, so he's like fast with the.
Oh yeah, they're just shit talking each other all day.
Yeah, all day. So he was like, you would have been a martyr for wrestling. That's funny. And just started laughing. And I'm like, my mom like fucking hits him in the back of the head, and they're not even together anymore. They're divorced. She's like, our son almost fucking died, and you're joking,
right?
Just, you know, and after that, I was just like, I don't know why he said that stuck with me so much. And over time, when I was in the neck brace, I was like, man, I just started thinking of all of the ways my life could have changed if that didn't happen.
Right.
Or if that did happen and I would end up being in a wheelchair, like, what would I do? I was 16, bro.
Shit.
I didn't even graduate yet. I didn't even have a car yet. I didn't have my first kiss yet, as embarrassing as that sounds. I didn't do none of that. So, like, my life was over. And, man, it's like emotional thinking about it, because, like, legit wrestling, like, and, you know, a lot of people say that, and, you know, I'm sure that, you know, I believe them, but quite literally, wrestling saved my life. So I had this mentality, like, when I get back, you know, I'm gonna pay wrestling back. I'm gonna pay it back. And that's where that comes from.
Wow.
Passion for it shows, though. Like, you're one of the people that I can watch when I see you watching. Like, the love of it radiates off of you when you're in the ring, man.
Definitely,
dude. Like, my whole family is full of fighters, and that's not a joke. That's not a word. That's not any type of character. My grandfather was Puerto Rican middleweight champion in 1977 to 83. 4 of my cousins are professional boxers. 2 of them are amateur boxers. My dad played in the MLB for 2 seasons. Like, they're all top tier, legit athletes, all of them. And I'm the only wrestler in my family.
Wow.
The only one. I did boxing for 11 years. Yeah, 11 years. And I gave it up for pro wrestling.
Wow.
Literally gave up my family dream for pro wrestling.
This is, man, what a story, man.
The legit, like, bro, my earliest memory, this is not a joke. My earliest memory is my grandfather, who was wheelchair bound at the time. He was teaching, bent over, and was teaching me combinations with his hands. So I would, like, he would grab my hand and put it to his hand, and he would just do that all day. Just, and my mom would yell at him in Spanish, like, what the fuck are you doing? He's not even 1 year old. You're teaching him combination. He's like, you know, back off. He's going to learn. And that's how, and that was my grandfather. But my grandmother, here's how I got into wrestling. My grandmother loved pro wrestling.
Yes.
My grandmother didn't give a fuck about boxing. She hated boxing. She was like, boxing's fucking stupid. It's fake. It's terrible. It's fake. It's not real. Boxing's not real. It's a work.
Yes.
But she would go to Mexico. I don't know what for. I still don't know to this day why she would go. But she would go and watch AAA. 92, 93. She would watch AAA. So she was there when Los Gringos Locos with Eddie Guerrero and Art Barr. She was there for La Parca. She was there for Juventud Guerrera. She was there for Rey Mysterio. And what she would do, she would grab as many tapes, because they would sell VHS tapes at the time to make more money. She'd grab as many as possible, fly back to Puerto Rico, fly back to New York, and just store them. And it's like in this big plastic case of just hundreds of VHS tapes of pro wrestling, bro. Hundreds.
Wow.
Oh man.
Do you guys know who Roy Lucier is?
Yeah.
So I just recently met him, like probably when I
he was at the West Coast Pro Show.
I met you, Reg. He was there, and I told him probably 50 of those had his name on it, written Roy Lucier, All Japan.
Wow.
Roy Lucier, AAA, 1993. Those are. I didn't have John Cena. I had La Parca.
Right.
That's dead. That is the most shoot you will get with me, bro. I didn't know who John Cena was till I was 11, and I've been wrestling since I was 3.
Wow, that's amazing.
Which, to put it into perspective, too, like you're 21,
I'm
right
21.
now, right?
21.
So, like, so already how? And this is when you're 11.
Yeah. Oh, what was when I was 11?
Or like when you're how old are you watching these tapes?
Oh man, I was like 3.
Oh my god. So so this is like 2004. This would be
is prime John Cena.
Yeah. That's a trip to think about, actually.
Yeah. So this is prime Cena. This is when everybody, was on Cena. I had no idea who the man was.
You're like, I don't know who that is. I know about Lucha, baby.
I would see it on TV, but I thought it was lame compared to Lucha.
Right.
Because they would show Undertaker. I'd be like, oh yeah, he's cool. And then I'd go to the other room and watch La Parca. La Parca was my Undertaker.
Right.
He was the same equivalent. He came out to Billie Jean. No, he came out to Thriller for some reason. And what got me hooked to WWE actually was that it was Eddie Guerrero. And I was like, I know who that is. I know who Eddie Guerrero is. He's on here. Why is he on here? He's on because here's the thing. At the time, I'm young. I thought the VHS tapes were like current.
Right.
That this was like from 20, 30 years ago. I had no concept of it. So I thought it was now, but my grandma smartened me up and was like, no, that's him now. So I was like, oh shit, I gotta watch now. And that's how I got into WWE, was because of Eddie Guerrero, because I realized that it was the same dude. So I was like, oh, okay, this is different. Oh, Rey Mysterio, I know him. Wait, why are all these dudes here? So Chris Benoit, he was Pegasus Kid. He was on the VHS tapes. These are how I knew. And my uncle Jimmy, he he is probably like the most hardcore wrestling fan I knew at that point, because he had Kara, he had Ring of Honor, he had CZW, he had Big Japan VHS tapes and DVDs. So he stopped liking wrestling and he was like, I don't watch these, you can have them. So that's how I got hip on indie wrestling. So I grew up with Bryan Danielson. I grew up with Necro Butcher. I grew up with Samoa Joe. I grew up with all these dudes. Most people watch them after the fact, after seeing him in WWE or TNA.
Right.
That was my first exposure to wrestling. So my journey is very backwards from everybody else. I grew up on the deep tapes, or the deep cuts. I grew up on all the things that are, not mainstream. I guess you would say, like, that's what I grew up on. And once I started watching WWE consistently, I saw how different it was, and I came to appreciate both, which gave me a wider perspective on wrestling, which was pretty fucking cool. So
right. Yeah. So when you came back from the neck injury, what you said you were training in lucha pretty much. What made you kind of make the switch to kind of what you developed into now? What was like? Okay, I'm gonna start being this version of Robert Martyr, the ones that we presently see now.
I was El Pegaso Muerte. Yeah, El Pegaso Muerte for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I had my first match at 14. That was my first match.
Wow,
14 years old.
that's crazy.
Training at 13. That was so I started at 13, had my first match at 14, and it's illegal to wrestle underage in Florida, so you can't do that. So they would put me in a mask and claim that, right?
Yeah.
So I never had a singles match that whole time up until I was 18. I never had a singles match.
Wow.
I'd only done 6-man tags, tag teams, scrambles. Those are the only matches I did, or squashes, like really quick, like 1 minute.
Right.
Never had a real singles match. So when I broke my neck, I was always hip on lucha, but like it wasn't what I liked the most. That makes sense. It's what I grew up on. It's my comfort wrestling, but it's not what I liked the most. What I liked the most was when I saw Finley at WC. I was like, oh man, he's cool. Damn, he's beating the hell out of. And whenever Eddie would wrestle somebody smaller than him, he cut all that high flying shit out and just beat.
Yeah.
Just beat the living dog shit. I was like, oh, I like that. How he's doing that. And then when I got into WWE, I saw Chris Benoit, and I was like, oh, this just changed everything. I was like, oh shit, that I want to do that. I saw Eddie versus Benoit, Vengeance 2003, and that's what made me. I was like, I got to do this. I have to be a wrestler. I have to. And it's actually when I'll take you a little bit back. I don't mean to backtrack, but it's actually when I saw Homicide win the world title from Bryan Danielson. I was there. I was
shit,
bro. My uncle Jimmy took me. I didn't know shit about wrestling at that point.
Wow, what a show to go to, right?
Yeah, I was there for that. And I was like, and he put up the Puerto Rican flag, bro. And I'm not, how do I say, I'm prideful about my race, but I don't make it my whole personality. But for some reason, like Eddie Guerrero was my, like, how do I say, like he was my representation as, being Spanish, and Puerto Rico. He was Mexican, but vicariously through him, I had that representation. But when I saw Homicide, I was like, oh shoot, like this dude could be my uncle.
Yeah,
like legit be my uncle, bro. Like dead serious. My shout out to my uncle Blue. He's literally just Homicide. He's shout out, bro. I have like 8 family members that are just like Eddie Kingston clothes, just walking around everywhere. Yeah. So, when I saw him, I was like, man, I like that. I like that. I want that. I like that gritty style. Yeah. And I didn't know what to call it. And then I saw it, and what changed me everything was seeing Bryan Danielson for the first time.
Right.
Like seeing him live in person.
Against Homicide.
Against Homicide.
Yeah.
And how do I put this into the words that I want to say? When you watch the tapes, people can say that, he was rather meat and potatoes or whatever because of the gear and just his personality at that time. He didn't have any of the yes or whatever, but there was just an aura about him, man. There was just something enticing that I was like, what? This guy's cool, right? And I've always wanted that when I trained. So when I broke my neck, I was like, this might be the break that I needed to change. So I talked to my trainer. I talked to Mecha Wolf 450, who was another one of my trainers. And I talked to Ricardo, and I asked him, like, hey, I don't really want to do this mask thing anymore. I'm 17 or I'm 16. And they were like, give it a year. Give it a year, recover, and then we'll see. And when I I'll be honest. I lied. I was supposed to take 7 months off. I took 4.
Oh shit!
And I lied to say I was fully recovered, and I was not even close to fully recovered.
Oh my god!
Like I couldn't even lift my arm over my head. That's the highest I could lift it. So I lied, and I was just like, yeah, I'm ready, because I wanted to wrestle so bad, man. I wanted to wrestle so bad. I was only wrestling like 2-3 times a month, bro.
Right.
Wrestle so bad, and it was stupid, but I really wanted to do it, and I convinced them, and from then on, I was Robert Martyr. I originally wanted to be Bobby Maverick, and then my trainer laughed in my face like, "That's a fucking stupid name. Go back."
Robert Martyr's your real name, right?
So Robert is my real name. My last name starts with an M. So
okay, so you just went with that.
My initials. That's my real initials. So again, when I came up with the name,
yeah, Robert Martyr's way better than Bobby Maverick or whatever.
Yeah.
I was so sad. I was like, what's wrong with Bobby Maverick, bro? I was playing 2K all the time. I came up with my character, bro. I was playing 2K, beating people's asses on like random mode. You'd find somebody from like Australia, beat their ass. Like, no, they were like, no, you're not doing this. So I was like, man, what could I use for my ring name? What could I use? So I was like, man, I don't want to be called anything else, because I sometimes be getting confused when somebody calls me my wrestling name, like who, and they're and I didn't realize they were talking to me. So I was like, let me just keep my first name, And then I just couldn't think of anything. I just really couldn't think of anything, and I remembered my dad's joke. Yeah, like, oh, I'll just use this for a one-off.
That is amazing. Your dad's
stuck.
joke, got it. Yeah, and
full circle.
But the thing is what's crazy, I did this a year ago. I saw what my real last name translates into Spanish. Guess what it is? Martyr. I'm not lying to you. My legitimate last name in Spanish, the literal definition is martyr. That's so it was like, I don't know what higher power you believe in, but it had to come from something. And over time, I started getting a lot more personal with what martyr meant to me. This is not just a full last name. It's not, or whatever the case may be. Like it means something very, very close to me. Like that situation, it had defined my life from that point on. It's what I am from that point on. So like a martyr is like, martyr's somebody who's willing to die for what they believe in, right? That's the basic definition. Well, if wrestling saved my life, then I'm willing to give my life to wrestling. So I'm going to be a martyr. If I die doing this, then I'm going to do it doing what I love and doing everything I've ever wanted to do. So that's what a martyr means to me. That's why it's like, it's mad personal to me, bro. Like that, everybody says, oh, it's just wrestling. Oh, fucking Vince Russo. Shit, Jesus Christ. But I don't know, man. Have you seen that meme? It means something to me, man.
Yeah.
It means something to me. Oh, yeah, no, I love it, bro. Oh, man. I get emotional, bro.
I feel you, man. It's a fitting last name. It's a fitting name, honestly, because like your wrestling style is that. Like your thing is like never say die attitude, always fighting from behind, trying to be like, trying to be a fucking martyr out here. Like, yeah, definitely. Like it's super fitting. It's amazing that you stumbled, that your dad helped you get into that. Like, great story.
He's the biggest contribution to my wrestling career, yet he hates wrestling. How funny.
with this Goldberg tattoo.
I still clown him every.
Has he grown like a fondness for it at all at any point? Seeing your progression through,
he's grown a respect. He's grown a respect for it. He doesn't. He's grown a respect for it, because at first, bro, I was making less than I did in boxing.
Right.
Making pennies in boxing. I was fighting probably every 3 weeks, 3.5, every 4 weeks, right? Fighting almost every month.
That's crazy.
4-round fights, bro. 3-minute rounds.
That's a lot of boxing.
That's a lot of I've had a lot of fights. I don't even know. I have to find my record on the thing, but I genuinely don't remember. I've had a lot, and I was making like $30 maybe on a good day when the promoter was feeling nice. You know, I've been dealing with shitty promoters for a while, bro. Wait for wrestling. I've been dealing with some scumbags.
Boxing is also a carny business, then.
Yeah,
bro. Boxing. Here's the thing, man. When you look into our history, we steal a lot. Like the structure of pro wrestling and the culture, we steal so much from boxing, bro.
right.
We steal so much. It's so similar. The only difference is they have a lot more money than we do. That's the only difference. So, but like, what was the question? I'm sorry.
I don't remember. I'm high.
I don't even remember. We're on a journey right now.
Oh yeah. Okay, I remember where we were going. Where I was going with this was so. I had been fighting like.
Oh, it's about your dad respecting the pro wrestling now.
I've been fighting like again, like 3 or 4 times every few months. Or not every few months, you know what I mean? Every few weeks. And you know, there was the end goal was to be professional. At the end, that was the end goal. There was always like an ends to the means of me getting my ass handed to me and fighting this consistently, so I could prove to my my coach that I'm ready. And once I gave that up, so yeah, once I gave, I'll finish. I'll tell that later. But once I gave that up, you know, my dad didn't see the point. You know, my dad was just like, "You're making less, and you're fake fighting, or whatever the case." And in his eyes, he's like, "This is stupid. But if you want to do it, your mom's gonna let you do it. I got no control. You just better be doing something athletic, right?" So over time, I want to say August of last year, he showed up for like the second time to one of my shows, and that's when I won. I wrestled Jacob Fatu on the first night. It was for a company that's now closed now, Global Syndicate Wrestling.
Okay.
And the next night, I wrestled 20 minutes for a dude that's retired now, named Gio Galvano, for one of their like probably mid-card titles, and I won. It was my first title, and my dad saw that, and my dad saw the ovation, and he was like, "Okay, I get it. I understand." You know. And then he started, you know, and I wasn't even getting paid like that at that point. And now he sees that I'm traveling literally the country every weekend and I'm getting paid for it. In his mind, that was all he needed to hear. Like, you're getting paid and you're doing what you love. I'm not, you know, you're 21 at this point. I can't stop you, you know. Yeah. And look, that was the biggest thing for me too, Reg, is like, I tried to carry all of my family's dreams at once.
Definitely.
At the same time. Like, I played baseball for I don't know how long, and I was like, this shit is ass. I don't want to play baseball. And that broke his heart. And then, you know, okay, well, you're doing boxing now. I'm like, okay, I'll do boxing. So I did boxing for however long, right? And when I just got into high school, which was when I was 14, I was still doing boxing. I just had my first match, so I was still very new in wrestling. And in high school, I entered the wrestling team. I was juggling all 3 of those at the same time.
Wow.
So I would, if you look at any of my like old photos back then, I would either be really heavy or really skinny. Be in like every few months, you'd see drastic weight change. So I would wrestle at 145, and then I'd cut down to 127 in box.
Wow.
Jeez.
So like, yeah, so once my wrestling season was over, all right, boxing time. All I was doing lucha at the same time. So it was crazy. Yeah.
It's a lot of hats.
That's hella hats.
A lot of
yeah.
Funny story. Riz, is real quick because I don't want to keep talking. I know you guys got questions. But this is really funny. My second to last fight. Man. I went against, I think it was Roger Mayweather's nephew or something like that. He was barely a Mayweather, but they gave him that nudge.
You got the nod.
Carried that, and I fought him, and he was trying to be his, you know, I'm assuming his uncle. I don't know. He's trying to be Floyd, and I saw him fight beforehand, and he doesn't fight like Floyd at all. He fights more like Pretty Boy Floyd. He's like brawler. Like he does not he's not defensive at all. But for some reason, he decided to change his style, and I knew I could beat him because it was stupid that he would change his style. If he fought me the way he would normally fight, I'll get my ass laid out. I'll just be straight up with you. But at that point, I would do a fight, and next week, the next night, I gotta do a 6-man tag, right? So I'm thinking about wrestling. I'm not thinking about this. I'm not thinking about the fight. When bro, I'm in the locker room thinking about, man, what spot am I gonna do tomorrow?
Right.
What am I doing? Like, and they keep, I'm doing pads. I'm like, oh man, I got Martin Stone's in that match, and that was the first name I ever wrestled, or Danny Burch from NXT. If y'all, he was in that match. So I was like, oh man, I'm so nervous. I want to wrestle him. Like, he's so good. He reminds me of what I want to do for my style.
Right.
I have to fight in like 5 minutes.
And you're thinking about wrestling.
And I'm not thinking about the dude who I'm supposed to be squaring up with. So I go out there, and I regret it till to this day. I should have said I'm not fighting.
Right.
If I was in there with my mind, because bro, when you fight, bro, you have to, all your attention, all your focus must be in it, or you shouldn't be doing it at all.
Right.
Like, that's how people get hurt. That's how people get injured for life. So I did the fight. I'm a round in, bro. I'm getting my ass whooped bad. I'm getting fucked. Like, my eyes bulge. My teeth are like, I think I have, my back molar got popped out. Something. And I sit down, and I'm like about to cry. Because I'm not in this. I don't want to fight. I don't want to box anymore. My heart was already out of it. My heart was out of it 6 months ago, but I still kept doing it.
Right.
And I'm like, I can't do this, bro. I can't do this. And my coach is like, one more fight, just one more fight, just get through this, one more fight. And I really wanted to call it. Like, it was like one of those like life-defining moments where I just wanted to quit so bad. I wanted to quit. He had mentally beat me before I got in the ring.
Right.
I was done before I even threw hands with him. Man, I don't want to do this. I'm in tears. Bell rings. And he's like, you want to do this or not? I'm like, let's do it. And I hung in there because, again, he was trying to be defensive, and I'm a counter puncher. So I was just waiting for him to make a mistake. And I started getting him pissed off, and which is he started to go into his brawling, and I counterpunched him multiple times. I think I caught him in the 3rd round with 40 seconds left. I dropped him, and then I was just cruising from there. I didn't want to, and I won by decision. And I won by decision. But I knew in my heart, bro, I lost that fight.
Right. Well, you lost before you even went in.
I lost that fight. He should have won. He really should have won. I dropped him, but he should have won.
Right.
I lost the fight. And my hands being raised, whatever. My coach is congratulating me, and I cried that night. I was like, I don't want to disappoint my grandfather. I don't want to disappoint my cousins. I don't want to disappoint my mom, because this is the family business. But I also want to do what the fuck I love.
Straight up.
Pro wrestling. So the next day, I already had one more fight lined up, and it was like a title contention fight, and I didn't feel like canceling it, so I did that one, and I lost, and then I hung it up. I was like, I'm done. And I told my dad, I literally took my gloves and I put it in my dad's chest. I'm like, done. And he's like, why? I'm like, wrestling. And he threw a fit, bro. He was so mad. So pissed off. But I told him, like, the one thing you said was do what you love. And if you're not doing what you love, then don't do it. And I threw his words right back at him. And my dad is old school dude. He's super macho, like macho old school guy. And, he took that. He was like, you know what? You're right. I don't like it. I'm not going to fight. If you really need it, I'll financially help you, but don't be asking me for nothing. But I support you. And that's it. And from then on, I've been doing it. So, yeah, man.
Crazy journey, man. Amazing story. So, yeah, now we're here. You're one of the hottest independent wrestlers in the world, been going toe-to-toe with a lot of great talented people. We just talked about a great match that you had recently for Prestige Wrestling against Jordan Cruz. Y'all went at it. So now it's just like, it seems like you're having a lot of fun out there. You're like I was telling, I was talking about on the show with Mike when we were doing it. You are, if you're not in the ring, you are working, trying to get your life, money and stuff. You're at the gym, you're working on improving your character. You're constantly trying to improve, be a better Robert Martyr. Yeah. How has it been recently in the last couple of months? Because you've had a lot of great opponents. What's been your favorite opponent in the last, say, 6 months? Because it's been fun.
Ian Davey, man.
Yeah.
Ian Davey.
Forgot about the Davey match. Yeah, that's just like, we were talking about that. That's just like one of those, like, you can see your style in Davey. Like, Davey's a pioneer of the things that you like to bring to the ring. So we all knew that match was going to be one of the ones.
Man. It was for like, yeah, kind of like what we mentioned last week. It was like watching Davey Richards wrestle 21-year-old Davey Richards.
Yeah.
Like in that match. A lot of people responded to it really positively. Like, that was the debut show for Garden State Pro Wrestling, so there was already a lot of eyes that were on the show of like, oh, what's this? Like, this card's crazy. What's this new indie gonna do? And then that was actually like one of the matches that seemed to be on the tip of people's tongues the most when they're talking about the show the day after.
Tell us about working Davey Richards, man. Because
So we actually wrestled a few months before that. We actually wrestled a few months before that, a lot smaller show. And it was like 15, 20 people in the crowd, right?
Yeah.
So Davey, oh man, I can't believe I'm telling this story. I don't make him mad. But like, he was like, he got there and he had to drive like 14 hours to North Carolina from that show.
Eesh. So
he was just like, oh, man, you could tell he's so tired. And I was tired because I just had a grueling match. That was the day we met, right? That was the day before.
Right.
And my body was fucked. And we were both, right? But in my mind, I was like, bro, it's Davey Richards. I got to go in. And he's like, just listen to me out there. Let's call our match for next time. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, just listen. Don't worry about it. What's he asked me very specific questions about the match, what he needed. And I was like, this, and this. He was like, okay. And then he's like, oh yeah, let's talk about this match. And I'm like, so you want us to talk about the match that we're having in 2 months? In July. Right? As
this was at OPW in May, right?
Yeah. We're there was like one and a half match. No, there was like one match before us, before we were supposed to go out. He's just like casually putting on his gear. Like, he's like, yeah, let's talk about it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we talk about it. And I wrote, he was just, and I'm like in my notes, just writing all this stuff down of a match that we're supposed to have 2 months later. And we just go out and we just like, no, nothing. We just talk. Like, it was, I got 2 Davey Richards experience. I got Davey on autopilot, but it was so like, I learned so much from that. And after, he grabs the mic and just says all these great things about me. And I'm like in tears. And he's like, we go to the back. He's like, hey, I got to head out, but don't worry. The real show's next month or whatever. I'm like, oh shit. So Garden State happens. And if you remember, like, Garden State had so many names that show.
Yeah.
So many names. I was probably the least known out of mostly everybody on that card. Like, you had major players. You had real, legit players on that card.
Definitely.
And, I told myself, like, weeks, I was like, I don't care what I have to do. I don't care how tired I am, how beat up I am, how mentally exhausted, whatever is going on in my life, all the anger, all the pent-up rage is going into that match. That's all I could think about was that match. because I told him after our match, we had a really good personal 25-minute heart-to-heart conversation after that match in a private room. And I told him, I saw you win the world title against Eddie Edwards.
Right.
I was front row. You can actually watch that match back. You will see little Robert Martyr in the front row. I saw you win the belt.
Mm-hmm.
And now to be in the ring with you on and Kevin Blackwood actually told me 2 weeks ago, he said, man, I've wrestled Davey. He had his working boots on for that match.
Mm-hmm.
He had his working boots on.
He did.
Not that he does it hard.
He always does.
He always does. But for some reason, that match, he had, I don't know. He just had something to prove. And I had something to prove. And, bro, that building was 100 degrees in there, bro. There was no way. Ask anybody on that show. It was genuinely 100. I have never been so tired in a match. There was something in me that was I can't. I have to prove something. I have to prove something. We had that match. The best. It was probably the greatest moment of my life, because after the match was when it all hit me. When people started chanting my name, and again, nobody knew who the fuck I was that show. Nobody had a clue who I was. Maybe a few people, but for the majority, it was a grand stage with, international talent, some of the best currently and the best ever on the show. And people were talking about my match.
Mm-hmm.
And people were chanting my name at the end. And you could see me, in tears. And I hate crying. So I was
right.
in tears, bro. And I'm trying to keep character or whatever, trying to look somewhat tough, but I just couldn't hold it in, bro, because that was the validation of my life when people started chanting my name. Because I used to get my ass beat when I was a kid, bro. When I was 14, 15, 16 in wrestling, you'd have these 45-year-old fucking, 40-milers beating I was getting more fucked up in pro wrestling than I was in boxing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Damn.
I was getting my ass handed to me worse by people who were 3 times my age and bitter. And whenever I would ask them, they always tell me, you suck. You're really bad and you shouldn't be in there. And I'd be like, okay, well, can you help me? Nothing.
Mm.
They would just tell me I'm shit. And if I was, then I'll admit that. But you're not progressing me. You're just shitting on me and then refuse to give me advice. And it got so bad at a point that I was banned from 3 promotions just off of word of mouth because I'm young. And that's it. That's it. And people just didn't like me because I cared about wrestling too much. So all I would talk about was how much I liked wrestling and the intricacies and bringing up all the little details and stuff. People just thought I was just, a mark. That's what they thought. And to have that moment, have that seal of approval from somebody who without a doubt is a absolute legend that nobody can take away from him, no matter what anybody has to say about him, is a legitimate pioneer and legend in our business. For him to give me that respect and give me that seal of approval, and then have the fans give me that after. It was the most genuine. It made me realize that I made the right decision, and that if it's not for nothing, bro, pro wrestling is my life, and I am pro wrestling. And in my mind, I was I am pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling is me, and I'm not to say that in I'm pro wrestling, but this is all I care about, bro. This is my life. It's what I eat. And as cliche as it sounds, bro, ask anybody you'll see at a show. They'll make fun of me because I'm watching wrestling before my wrestling match at a wrestling show. I'm watching wrestling.
Well, and something I even meant to I wanted to ask you about anyway is your studiousness of wrestling. You talk about how much wrestling you watch, but then you even at shows you're watching other people's matches. I've seen it at a few different shows that you've been on now, where either after your match you're just hanging out in your trunks watching.
The bro doesn't even change into his regular clothes.
No.
He's right here. I'm in my trunks, in my
somewhere.
boots. I'm about to watch this show. That's how much I love pro wrestling.
Yeah, dude. funny enough, so I had that. So I wrestled Davey, right? I had that conversation. I'm still in my gear. I'm like, oh man, I forgot to watch. I forgot to watch Gabriel Kidd versus Eddie Kingston for New Japan Strong. I had to check that out, plop it on, and I'm watching it. And Sonico, shout out to Sonico, is like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? You just wrestled Davey Richards, and now you're here watching wrestling.
Yep.
What if it shook his head and just walked away? Like Suge has caught me multiple times just watching wrestling at a wrestling show. And it's like, I don't know, bro. Like, dude, I would consider myself an online tape trader. Because I pay, as nerdy as it sounds, bro. Hey, promoters, I'm a nerd, bro. You're going to have to get used to it. So I've paid for like really rare Google Drives of shows that nobody's got. I've paid for that shit, bro. And I have homies or people that I know that, I want to get my hands on this show. Hey, bro, slide me a few dollars. Here's a link. You know, I remember I made a pact with myself when I was like 16. Is like, I don't know who told me, but it was somebody who was like, oh, he was a really good wrestler. I'm not going to say his name, but he was a really good wrestler. And I asked him, so who's your inspirations in the ring? He's like, I don't fucking watch wrestling. I fucking hate wrestling. And walked away. And I was like, what the fuck? That shit just blows my mind. And I know this might rub people the wrong way. That shit blows my mind. Well, I've never met an elite boxer or an elite professional athlete that doesn't study what they do. And if
seems wild.
It's just like, how is that cool? It's not cool.
It's prevalent in wrestling too. That's like a thing. Like, I don't care about this shit. Blah blah blah.
I don't watch the fucking product. And I'm like, bro, here's the thing, man. People are so fucking scared about being considered a mark or called a mark or whatever the fuck. Like, dude, watch the product. Watch what's currently happening. Watch what's going on around you. Watch the things that nobody. The reason I think that's probably the biggest thing of my current success is because I watch shit nobody watches. Right. And I'm studying shit nobody is watching. And I pick little things. I take something from every style, something from every era, because 9 times out of 10, even if it's not the wrestling that you particularly like or it's your style, there's something in there and there's something worth learning from and studying. So, for example, right, I'll take the structure and psychology of Mid-Atlantic wrestling and Smoky Mountain wrestling, their structure and their ability to tell a story in 4 or 5 minutes and relate to the crowd is something I've never seen. I'll take the aggression and emotion and technique from Japanese wrestling. I'll take the footwork and positioning from Lucha Libre. I'll take I'll go to bro. I watched a fucking a Bart Gunn match. I was like, oh shit, that's cool. Like, I'll watch shit like. I have a buddy that has like every WCW Saturday night, and I'll just watch job matches for selling.
Right?
Why not? You know, I take. It's kind of become like a word of mouth, like, oh, Robert is this astute student of the game or whatever. But it's like, it's not even me trying to do that. It's just I did it. I'll do it anyways. So it's like, it's just me, you know.
I mean, if anybody knows about watching a lot of wrestling, it's your boys, Mike and Reg.
Yeah. Guilty. Like, we were talking about this before the show, but like, we'll decide every week on like, oh, we're going to review 1 or 2 shows. And then like we review 1 or 2 of them. We end up still talking about like 4 or 5 other ones anyway, just on top of it.
Exactly.
What we intended to be like a 45 to an hour for a recap, we're now like, we'll hit like the almost 2-hour mark, and it's just like and I still have more that I watched that I could probably talk about this week. But
I have so much. I can genuinely tell you, there's one folder that I will probably never finish, and I have like 5 of them that I will probably never finish. But my goal is to try to finish all of it.
Like, hey, you know what? Knowing that you happen to have, you're somebody that I'm probably going to be DMing at some point, being like, hey, man, I'm looking for this
yeah,
show.
sure.
I
Let me
have
look
like
at that.
5, bro. I'm like the plug for like 5 people right now. It's funny.
I'm saying.
And go ahead.
It's funny too, because that's actually how Reg and I met. Was literally
Yeah.
like he posted about looking for a show, and I was like, oh, I got that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Bro.
then now we're here. So.
Bro, that's sick, man. And Reg, you asked me like who are my favorite opponents this year. Like, so definitely definitely Davey. If I can remember, I wrestled Sonico at Prestige.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really fun match. Like, Sonico just brought a different aggression out of me, and I got to do a lot of my old stuff. Like I can do moonsaults, I can do those crazy arm drags. I just don't do them because I'm not 100 pounds anymore. So, so like, bro, one of these days, you saw me. I did a moonsault once. All right, from the middle rope. Sorry, from the middle turnbuckle. Nobody thought I could do that. I swear to you, nobody thought I could do that. I popped like 8 people back. When did you? Jimmy Lloyd said, "Why don't you do that all the time?" And I was like, "If I did that all the time, then it wouldn't mean shit." So like, you know that like that's why like the angle moonsault is so revered.
Right.
He only did it like what 4 or 5 times. Per angle doesn't count. Per angle.
No.
But
that's different.
But you know, I really enjoyed my match with Alan Angels. I have 2 matches with Alan Angels. I really enjoyed those.
The Gardens, I love the Garden. I love the Garden State one. That's actually one that kind of really put me on to noticing how well you make me want to root for you when you're fighting from behind. Like it's impressive how good you are at making me like I'm all for your comeback every time it starts.
Right.
Yeah, man. And dude, for so long I've been looking for a promotion I can truly call home. You know, because when you're an independent wrestler, again, I'm not signed to any company. I've never had any offers. I'm bouncing around constantly, right? And you know, I get jealous sometimes of the TV guys, man, because you know you have a company that will hopefully have a company that's willing to put money into you and time into you, and you have weekly television to tell these stories about you. I don't have that opportunity. You know, I have to do that dime. You've seen the promos I've posted. Like, those things are not expensive, but I put in the money, you know, and the time to like show parts of my personality and character that I really want to get over. But you know, with TV, they do that every week. You know, there's a week-to-week basis. I'm doing it show by show, and 9 times out of 10, it's the first time they're seeing me live. So I can't tell my whole life story in a 15-minute match. You know, I can't tell all the unique character things. So I get jealous sometimes. Like, man, I really wish I could do that. But slowly, I've been realizing different ways where I can show my character, and it's something that I'm really like. I just started acting classes, or I signed up for acting classes like not too long ago.
That's what's up.
And I bro, it's so important, bro, because for a long time, especially now, you'll start to see a lot of like my character. A lot of things are going to change as far as who Robert Martyr is and how he's presented. A lot of big things are going to change, and with a promotion like Garden State, who finally I found a place where I feel like they believe in me, and they're really using me in the way that they're really at least giving me an opportunity to show my potential. You know, and they're giving me things to do rather than, oh, here's a match. You know, I miss that type of booking personally. Is like, instead of, you know, big money matches, like those ROH cards were always sick, right?
Yeah.
And like just stack card after stack card. But now there's a point where everybody has a stack card, but what does it all mean?
Yep.
Is it just to see these cool sick matches? I kind of want something more, you know, something more out of my wrestling. And I feel like Garden State's kind of trying to do that with the stack card, you know, Gabe Sapolsky skeleton card, you know. That's where it all came from, that fucking guy. You know, that every promoter, and there's a lot to say about him, but every promoter owes him like some credit to as far as how he puts a show together, because everybody's doing that now. And Garden State, I feel, is kind of doing that, but like they're trying to tell some stories, and that's all I care about, bro. I just want to tell good ass stories. I want to make people believe in wrestling again, like feel in wrestling again. I don't want, dude. I could go on this for days, but like Lindsay Dorado brought up like a perfect point. He watched one of my matches. Like, are they reacting because they're trying to be respectful, or are they in the match?
Wow, that is a bar.
And I'm like, damn, bro, now my match is ass, dude. Like, sent this to you so you can compliment me, and now like I have to reevaluate my entire career. And it's like with that simple piece of it. But I love Lindsay, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was like the most mind-blowing advice.
That's the bar for real.
Are they saying, oh, because they mean it? Or are they saying, oh, because that's what you do at wrestling shows and you're trying to get involved? I don't want that. I want people to be truly invested in my work. I want somebody to truly come home from a show and be like, wow, like that meant something. I want the same feeling that I got from watching those matches as a kid. The same enthusiasm, the same like, wow. And if I feel like if we can do that and if we can make more fans instead of just pertaining to the ones that we already have, I feel like wrestling is going to grow and wrestling is going to make more money than ever. And we're going to go back to where we need to be, and that's making new fans. Because at the end of the day, that's all we need to do. Like, I'm as hardcore of a wrestling fan as you could get. But at the end of the day, those hardcore fans ain't getting any younger.
No.
You know, those hardcore fans, you know, they're starting to sour up, and you know, some of them are not starting to not like wrestling anymore. So what can we do? How can we get more hardcore fans? How can we get more people appreciating the Japanese wrestling, the Mexican wrestling, all these different types of styles if we don't have new fans to begin with? So that's the people I'm pertaining to, bro. Like, think about it like this. My whole mind has changed now because I want to become a character. I saw, speaking of the Perseverance show, Malachi Black was in the main event.
Mm-hmm.
He makes his entrance. I'm behind the scenes. I'm looking. There's an entrance, and I'm like right behind him. He makes his entrance. I'm looking, and I'm just seeing like the aura, like the aura of him. Like, again, I'm not trying to be like a Mark or whatever, but like when he's in the back, he had that same mystique about him, that same aura, and that shit like that makes me believe again, man. It makes me believe in wrestling, and that's what I want. I'm so tired of this jaded, fucking, you know, end of the world just mentality of wrestling. It's all the same, and this person is ass, and you know, we should gas up this person. I just want people to care and believe in wrestling, because I read Tajiri's book, and Tajiri said wrestling is the essence of life, and that hit me, bro. That shit got to me, dude. I listened to that, and I was like, that's fucking right. Because if it wasn't for fucking wrestling, I'd be fucking dead. If it wasn't for fucking wrestling, I'd be in a fucking jail cell with the people that I was hanging out with in Harlem. I'll be out in the street. I'd be wasted. But if wrestling didn't captivate me like that, I don't know where the fuck I'd be.
Wow.
Wrestling is the essence of life. And if I can tell that, if I can captivate somebody and truly hit them, whether they want to be a wrestler, whether it helps them in their daily lives. Because, bro, wrestling's healing, bro. Wrestling heals me. I have so many issues. I have so many, you know, shit that I haven't dealt with. But when I come home and I put on a match, bro, it makes me get through life a little bit easier. And this is not what we're all trying to do at the end of the day. Just get through life a little bit easier. And if I could do that for somebody, you know, using my body and telling a story through that, the art of wrestling is the power to making people believe again. That's what we need in the world.
Damn, that's beautiful, man. What a story, Robert Martyr. You have taken an intense journey, and only being 21 years old, you've already experienced so much. It's crazy. What are your goals? Or do you want to be a big Fed guy? Do you want to go? Do you want to wrestle at WrestleMania? What's going on here? Where's this leading to?
Who
man?
doesn't want to wrestle at WrestleMania? God damn. I hate that. Oh, I don't want to be the main event. Shut the fuck up. Get the fuck out.
That's funny.
Oh my god. No, man. My goal, man. So I'll let you on the inside, Reg, since you're my boy. I love you, Mike, too, but Reg's my boy right here, right? So I'm waiting on my passport. My passport should be here in 3 weeks.
Let's go, baby.
Passport should be here in 3 weeks, right? Right now, I'm discovering or looking into the possibility of moving. I'm not going to get too much into that because I don't really know and I don't want to put anybody out there, but we'll see. I got to get the fuck out of Florida, that's for sure.
Gotcha.
But I have this, I call it my 6-year plan. When I did Gresham's seminar, he said, make a plan. When I trained with Loki, he said, make a plan. When I trained with Ricardo Rodriguez, all these people that mean something in wrestling, Davey told me make a plan. So made a 6-year plan. That plan might change a little bit because of the recent news that I found out that Pro Wrestling Revolution is doing a NOAH tryout on the 17th in San Jose, California.
I know them.
Hey.
I know those people. Yeah,
I am familiar with Pro Wrestling Noah. Yes.
Yes, you definitely 100% need to be at that.
So, being that the promoter of Pro Wrestling Revolution is very close with the promoter of West Coast Pro.
Yep.
I will also be on Ride the Lightning, which has
October 8th, baby.
Yes.
It has Kevin Knight, who I'm tagging with against
mystery opponent partner too.
Yeah, mystery partner, and the legend, the wrestler is going to be there. So it's like, life works in mysterious ways.
Have you looked into the New Japan dojo?
I actually did it. I did a Rocky Romero seminar, and I got invited back. And I trained with Yuyi Mora, Ren Narita, and DKC, and Kevin. Yeah, so I trained with them back in, I want to say, what was it? It was like May-ish, around that time. So I did the seminar. They liked me, and they invited me back. And that's the avenue I'm looking into. But as far as my goals, that seminar, which I'm definitely going to try to attend, it might change a lot of stuff. My 6-year plan is, first I go to Mexico. I already have a few offers, especially when my my passport comes in. After I do a few tours of Mexico, I'm going to Europe. I'm staying in Europe for 6 months, 5 months, depending on how long I stay there. But I'm staying there. I'm committing to a promotion. I already have in mind what that promotion is. Hopefully they're still running by then. And then after that, Japan. And I hope to live there for a certain amount of time, because I feel like, as great as the indies are in America, to become truly international star, you have to live internationally. You have to become an international star. I have to have worth that's outside of America, right? So,
right.
And plus, Japan's everybody's goal. But I truly believe, like, I can offer something different to the Japanese style. Because right now, in my opinion, it's actually the opposite. A lot of places in Japan are actually copying us in America. They've kind of transitioned their style from what, strong style was considered, or the Japanese style was considered a few years ago, to now is very different.
Right.
So, especially with my lucha background and my technical wrestling background, I want to do Yabe style, which is Negro Casas, those guys, like the old luchador grappler types, those guys. I want to bring that. Nobody's doing that style in America.
Right.
Nobody. And I want to start doing that. And if I bring that to Japan, I think that could get me a lot of eyes. And then after that, after I'm done with Japan, and I'm sure I'd still be bouncing back and forth, but after I'm done in Japan, I'll come to America, I'll wrestle on the indies, and we'll see what, promotion that has a TV contract wants me.
So you're going to really earn it, is what you're saying. You're starting
a long way.
Like, yes.
My biggest trust the process is Bible to me.
Yep.
Trust the process, because I look at it like this. When I heard Gresham's story, when I did a seminar, nobody believed in him. Nobody. When he was doing the same match that he's doing right now, 15 years ago. Same.
And people were like, "Ew, we don't want to see that shit."
He was doing it at W. He was doing that in front of people, in front of places with 12 people in the crowd.
Right.
Same style, same technique, over, and over, and nobody would give him a shot. He wasn't on PWG till he got to Ring of Honor.
Right.
Nobody would give him a shot. They called him a boring wrestler. They said that he should just switch his style, stick to something different. But he stuck to what he believed in. He stuck to his guns. He stuck to his gut. He had trust in himself, and he had trust in the process. And look where he is now. Might as well be the best technical wrestler of our current generation.
Straight up.
So my mentality is, look, again, this 6-year plan can change at any point.
Right.
This shit can be flipped upside down. But I'm going to tell you right now, Garcia's my boy. And when I saw what he did, he turned down a contract from WWE in the midst of his great, legendary year, 2021. If he would have taken that contract now, I don't think he would be the star he is right now.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. He took a bet on himself. He stuck it out, and now look where he is.
Yep.
So if you don't believe, trust the process, I'm not one of those people. That's the big mentality in Florida, especially with WWE down here. Chase the contract. Chase the contract. Chase the contract. And I don't knock anybody that's down for the contract, bro. All of our journeys are different. But for me, I want to have that AJ Styles deal, baby. I want rights to my name. I want the ball to be in my court of what I want to present with my character. I take this shit very seriously. It's not a paycheck to me. It's not a pastime to me. It's my life. So you don't play with my life. And I want to make sure that I have everything in check, all my ducks in order, make sure that I have the international appeal. If something doesn't work out in one company, especially with all the things that's going on or whatever yada yada, if something doesn't work out with one company, hey, I could go to Japan. I could go to Mexico. I could go to Germany. I have eggs in different baskets, so I'll always be secure doing what I love, because at the end of the day, my end goal is to make money and make a living as a professional wrestler. That's all I want.
Beautiful.
Hell yeah.
I know we're an hour and 8 in.
I think we covered it,
Yeah. If there anything, I'll answer them quick, I promise you. If you got shotgun questions,
hey, it's funny you should mention that, because I do have a gotta go sprint kind of to get you through, and we've had some some deep conversation and some really some really in-depth personal answers and stories here. This is none of that. This is none of that.
It's just
so I'm gonna hit you with some questions and you can hit me with some answers here, okay?
Gotcha.
What's the song you can't stop listening to right now?
Bro, I'm so glad you... Thieves by Ministry, bro. That song goes nuts. A friend of mine just put me on the Ministry, and being that, I love Brain Stew, but I think there needs to be a change. And I think, again, with a lot of the changes I'm making, the presentation, the story I'm building right now, I think Brain Stew's got to take a back seat to something else. So
I just recently heard a Brain Stew cover, actually, that 4 Years Strong, they're a pop punk band from they did a Brain Stew cover recently, and I was like, damn. And then I went and watched a Robert Martyr match.
Yeah,
man. Got me thinking about you.
Bro, people know me off Brain Stew, so that's why I've been so hesitant, but I'm so committed to this new direction that I just feel like it's necessary. Especially, I picked Brain Stew because it was such like a angsty, just the definition of what the Poisoned Youth meant. When you think Poisoned Youth, you think of an angsty shithead, which is coming out. So that like an angsty little shit that doesn't give a fuck about nothing. I was like, yeah, Brain Stew, great song. But yeah, go ahead, we'll keep going. Shotguns. We got
favorite fast food spot when you're traveling?
Oh man, Taco Bell. Taco Bell, baby.
Classic.
Bro, here's the thing. It comes in clutch. Reg knows. For wrestlers, bro, we try to eat healthy, man.
Try.
When we get home from a show and it's 2 a.m., what's open?
Taco Bell.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
I'd rather eat some meat and some
Like if you're a vegan, you could kind of get your shit off at Taco Bell too, so it works.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the spot. Personally, I'm a pizza dude. I love pizza, bro. Domino's, love Domino's. Little Caesars was my best friend up until I was like 18. Okay? I in my pocket. I would walk down 139 in Lenox. I was fucking hungry. There was a bodega, and I couldn't afford shit from that bodega. So there's a fucking Little Caesars right across the fucking street, and I put my money in, $5, whole pan. That feeds myself for the rest of the day.
Man,
so.
Little Caesars hot and ready to salvage
Clutch.
many late nights for many
You
people.
understand, bro? And I
Clutch.
hear slander all the time, bro. When you're 15, no money, you got $5 in your pocket. Who's your best friend now? You hungry? Get you a pan.
Yeah, pitching with a homie, get a crazy bread. Everyone splits.
Come
You're
on,
set.
You're lit.
That's a party right there, man. That's a party. That's literally a party, bro. All right.
If you could be on the receiving end of a signature move from any wrestler, what move are you taking?
Oh man. Oh, I'll take a frog splash from Eddie. That'd be sick.
Yeah,
that would be sick. That would be sick.
A frog splash from Eddie would be sick. A close second, although it's so scary, but I'd probably do it. Would be the sheer drop from Morishima.
You trying to die?
Ooh. Trying to die.
Right,
Bro. When he hit that on Joe, I was like, he's the GOAT. I don't care.
right.
That move is like the wrestling equivalent of those like vertical roller coasters.
Yeah, like I'm good. I'm not trying to be up there.
Yeah.
So he's a big. I've seen Eddie had a nasty brain buster, right?
Definitely.
Austin had a nasty brain. There was something about the size of Morishima and the way he would drop you fast but slow at the same. I don't know how to explain it. I don't think it was the quickness. It was just how straight you went down, and it was
like
scary.
it was like watching a building come down like on a demolition.
Mm-hmm.
And he lifted Joe for that, and I was like,
crazy.
He dropped Joe right on. Oh, like, bro, come on, that was sick. All right, next one. Keep going.
You got to pack a car with 3 other wrestlers for a 2-week travel loop. Who are you bringing?
Oh man,
That's a great question.
I got to bring Sonico with me. Sonico's my boy. I'll bring Kevin Blackwood just so I could annoy the shit out of him the whole ride. Yeah, bro, because I love fucking with Kevin Blackwood. And I don't know if you've ever seen that pic. Have you seen that picture of me holding? I think it was my 21st birthday, and I was holding a Modelo, and he slapped it out of my hand, and it broke.
Oh yeah, I did see that. That's right.
Third person would be Shaza McKenzie. She's hilarious.
She's funny.
Freaking hilarious. I've never had so much fun in like a car just bullshitting and just like we had a whole conversation on what a lift was, and I was like, you're talking about the driving service? She's like, no, a lift. I'm like, what are you talking about? A lift?
Talking about elevators?
Yeah, it's an elevator. And we were like, what?
Yeah.
And she say sick cunt. This is amazing. I couldn't believe my eyes. This is awesome. What else? Who else would be awesome?
That was it. That was 3.
That was the 3.
Yeah, that's 3
Yeah,
people.
that was all 3.
Blackwood and Shaza McKenzie. Those are
Okay. Who gets to ride shotgun? You get a preference?
I love riding shotgun just so I could just annoy the shit out of
So nobody wants you to be shotgun.
just get under us. Just play some Britney Spears.
Well, see, that's the rule, right? Shotgun's DJ, right?
Yeah, man. Just piss him off. I'm just going to tell him all his hardcore bands suck, and I'm just going to blast Britney Spears.
Oh, okay. Well, hang on now.
Please, get the fuck out of here with that. I want to listen. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 20, right? See? Exactly. And I saw these live. Okay, they're my favorite band.
Right.
And the last one, so I kind of tipped you off to this one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask this of every guest now going forward.
Yeah.
But you get to book a wrestling show, any venue ever.
Okay.
Whatever the stage can be, whatever stage design you've ever seen in your life.
Okay.
And you can use on the card, you can have any wrestler wrestle anybody, dead or alive, doesn't matter. We're bending the laws of space, time, and mortality here. What venue are you at? Who are you wrestling in your match, and who's the main event on the card?
Okay, so I'm picking Kirk and Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
it's a small venue, but imagine that building packed and with fans.
Yeah,
it's my favorite. Every time I see New Japan, I'm like, oh, they're doing Kurikan, sweet,
dude.
Yeah.
It's Japan's Reseda.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like it's Japan's like I don't. There's something about buildings like Reseda and buildings like Kurikan Hall that are so personal, but like the fans are just so passionate. I love that. Okay, so I would be wrestling. I would wrestle Fit Finley.
All right.
Being fit. I go to jiu-jitsu sometimes, and Fit will be there because shout out to my boy Brogan Finley. He comes there sometimes with Sumi. Shout out to Sumi Sakai too. But so my main event. This is hard. This is really hard for me. But we never got it. We never got it, and it eats me alive. And it was very close to happening, apparently, in like 2002. Bryan Danielson versus Eddie Guerrero would be, and especially Eddie during that time when he had just got laid off and he got clean and he was just hungry. He was wrestling super crazy in Ring of Honor. He was jacked to the gills. He was more intense than he had ever been in his life. He was like peak performance. Like when he came back those first 2 weeks of Raw, he looked like a superstar.
Definitely.
And also he was like small enough. Over time, he got a little bit too big for his body to handle. But during that time, he was like light, but he had muscle mass. And Danielson, if I could get 2005, 2006 Danielson, like peak Ring of Honor era versus 2002 Eddie Guerrero, I can't name a better match than that. I genuinely.
It'd be the best match of all time.
Pretty money.
It would have to be. It would have to be.
Angle versus Danielson was supposed to happen in 2006 before he got signed to TNA.
Yep. I would have been at that show for sure in PWG.
Bro. Man, I'm going to get mad at myself because there's like 8 more matches that I really want to happen that I wish I could name. But
yeah.
Oh, another one that's never happened. 2006 Fit Finley versus Kurt Angle never happened.
Right.
That's crazy to me. And they were in the same company at the same time together.
Right.
And it never happened. That boggles my mind, but that's my show.
That's a hell of a show.
Hey,
that's a hell of a show.
I'd
I'd pay to see that on pay-per-view.
Definitely.
Dude.
I'm all in.
Danielson versus Guerrero?
Come
on, man.
Super lit. Super lit.
I just don't know who would go over.
You got to have Eddie go over, I think.
For the Ring of Honor Pro matches. For the
Time limit draw.
No. Cop out.
Dude, just to pop them, I'll do a 60-minute draw and then say 5 more minutes and Eddie wins.
Okay.
Hey,
that's pretty hot.
Right.
That's pretty hot.
That's pretty hot.
Get the maximum mileage out of it, you know?
Exactly. Bro, exactly. You got to milk it for all it's worth, bro. You got to milk it for all it's worth. I would hope, like in my mind, imagine Kirk and Hall, those 2 matches, and then you have the reaction that Joe and Kobashi got in that building from Danielson versus Bro.
Right.
Yeah.
Come on. Hot.
Robert Martyr. Oh my God, dude. Thank you so much for this journey. You took us through peaks and valleys of your life. You're out here having amazing matches, improving yourself every week, every month, every day. That's what you're doing. Where could we find you socially and maybe a couple matches that you have coming up? And
yeah. So as I mentioned before, you have the Conglomerate at Ride the Lightning, me, Kevin Knight, mystery partner versus the Conglomerate. That's going to be a huge show. I also have Milo. My mom's here. Shout out to my dog, man. But you have, I'm also wrestling this weekend. I'm wrestling Sonico for DOA Pro in Portland, Oregon. And I'm also wrestling Adriel Noctis It's a 2-day tour. So October 1st and October 2nd was going to be sick. And then you can find me on my socials, twitter.com, the Apex RM, and then on Instagram, Death to Martyr, and on my YouTube channel, which you will find all my matches. So I have all them cataloged if you want to watch them. I'm still I got to clear up my phone because I need to upload me and Jordan, and I'm going to upload me and Big Game Leroy soon. So, yeah. Thank you guys. Hey, personally for me, like this is I told Mike about this. I watch you guys a lot, and I've been on podcasts where I've been asked the same questions, and I could just really tell you pay attention and you care, and it means the world to me. And I love both of you guys. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, man. You're
Rob.
amazing, young, talented dude, and we can't wait to see you win more. And your 6-year plan sounds amazing, and I hope that you execute it because we're gonna be along for the fucking ride, man.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you guys.
All right, Reg. Where can you be found out, my friend?
You know, you can find me every Saturday, Grab City Podcast for Fightful Network YouTube, righteousreg.bandcamp.com. Get the PWI 500. That's out, BW 500. It's at Righteous Reg on all your social medias. You know what's up.
Yeah, and mine, it's right here. Same place. Find me on Thursdays talking indie wrestling with this wonderful human to my right. Find me here on Saturdays talking about AEW with my homie Adam. Who knows what else I'll get up to?
Oh yeah,
I don't know. Mischief.
Hey, dude.
Shout out to Milo.
Shout out Milo.
Shout out Milo. Anything to say, bro? All right, no problem.
All right. Thank you for spending some time with us for this wonderful bonus episode of Indeed. Thanks again to Robert Martyr for dropping by. We appreciate your time very, very much, my man. I hope you have a great day. And to all of you watching at home, have a good one. We'll see you on Thursday.